Hello y'all and welcome back. So at the end of the last video, I presented an example, hypothetical, the germ of which originates with the great ethicist Rosalind Hursthouse, where a man has gotten two women pregnant by promising to marry both of them. And I added to this that he comes to you, his friend, he says, I want to do the right thing in this situation. And in the discussion, I asked you to say what you would tell him. Now, to fill this out just a little bit, in the exercise discussion prompt on the course's Canvas page, I give a few more details. But let's give these women names here. Rather than try to come up with names off the top of my head, I am turning to my random name generator here. So I'm going to randomly generate a name in a moment here. So the first woman, we're going to call her Maristella. Full name Maristella Freya. We'll just call her Mari. Okay, that's the first woman, Mari. And the second woman, generate a name, Charlize. Charlize Aurelia. Little Latin flavor, I like that. Perhaps Marcus Aurelius. Anyway, so there's Mari and Charlize. Now, I don't know what you wrote for your exercise discussion because, of course, I'm recording this before I've read or even posted this exercise. But there are two things that I want you to note in the case of the ethical scumbag. All right? The first thing, and I cannot stress this enough, in answer to the question, what is the morally right thing to do in this situation, is there is no morally right option. Do you see this, right? So supposing he keeps his promise and marries Mari, right? He's leaving Charlize in the lurch. He's breaking a promise to her. And this is not a small promise, like I'm going to give you a ride tomorrow at 3. This is a promise concerning the rest of her life. And even if things are so set up that she just doesn't care about it anymore, he's still breaking a promise. It's still the wrong thing to do. And if he decides to marry Charlize and leave Mari in the lurch, he's breaking a promise to Mari, again, in a big way, a huge promise. And breaking a promise is always morally wrong. And of course, if he decides to change his name and head for the border, whatever, and leaves both of them, he's breaking a promise to both of them. There is no morally right thing to do. If this guy comes to you and says, what would a morally good person do in this situation? The only answer is a morally good person wouldn't be in this situation. Do you see? There is no morally right option. But, second, and equally important, there is a best option. If you sit down and you're determined to help this guy, and you get all the information about him and what he thinks, and about the women and what they think, and maybe, I don't know if this is relevant, I'm not saying this is relevant, but maybe you get their financial information and their family situations and whatever, you will come to a decision about what is best to do. And the evidence that you will do this is you have done this many times in life. I know this without even talking to you, that many times in life you have to select the best of a bad lot. There's no good options in front of you, and you still select one. And as adults, we've gotten very good at doing this. Sometimes, yes, we do have actually objectively good options, but a lot of times we don't. We just still have to pick the best of a bad lot, and we do this. We're good at doing this. This is what is known as a tragic dilemma. A tragic dilemma is a situation where there is no morally right option. You are just in a situation that is tragic and bad. Okay? Other kind of cartoon examples, you might say, supposing you're in the Old West and some terrible bad guy, let's call him Bad Dan, so as not to pick on any other guys, has tied up all the townsfolk in this small town and he's going to blow them up with dynamite. Horrible guy. That's why they call him Bad Dan. And he says, I'm going to do this unless you shoot your best friend in the head. Lefty. I'm a lefty. So, right? No good options here. You can't just let all these men, women, and children die, but it's never the right thing to shoot an innocent person in the head. Tragic dilemma. But this case, and the case of the ethical scumbag, there is a best option. I'm not saying what it is, but you're going to figure it out. You're going to choose the best option. Now, remember in the first video introducing utilitarianism, I said that I introduced that distinction, and here's why I want to return to that. For the utilitarian, there's no distinction. For the utilitarian, the best option is the morally right option. Always and in every situation, the best option is morally right. When you have found what is best, you have ipso facto, in virtue of that very fact, found the morally right option. Why? Because remember, I said, for utilitarianism, It's not the view that the morally right thing will always maximize pleasure, benefit, or utility. It's the idea that the morally right thing is morally right because it maximizes pleasure, benefit, or utility. There is nothing more to the concept of moral rightness, nothing more to the concept of moral good than maximizing pleasure, benefit, or utility, greatest good for the greatest number. So there is no distinction at all. So once you've found what's best, in the Old West case or the ethical scumbag, that is the morally right option. So you say, well, supposing I marry Mari and I break my promise to Charlize? Yeah, Charlize, yeah. The utilitarian is committed to the view that you are doing the morally right thing there. And that is a concern for me. And it's not just me. A lot of people have this concern about utilitarianism. I personally, in my classes, call it the Big Objection. But the idea is pretty clear. Utilitarianism, in tragic dilemmas and other related situations, counts as morally right things which I think are clearly morally wrong. So it bites the bullet, but it bites the bullet in a way I think that is very problematic vis-a-vis our moral intuition. Utilitarianism counts as morally right things that are clearly morally wrong. This is what I call the Big Objection. There are other concerns about utilitarianism that you could raise, but this one I call the Big Objection for a reason. I think it's pretty substantial. Again, don't mean to tell you what to think. I think the pros of utilitarianism are also quite substantial. Just want to introduce it and present a little of both sides. All right, curious to hear what you think, and I look forward to joining you in the next module as we discuss the rival view, deontology. Thanks.